Hello my friends, Simon Miller here once again from my weird hotel room in America. I do apologise for the lack of content, but I am juggling 1,000 things. But how could I not stop by and talk about what may be one of the most craziest angles that AEW has ever done? Because that's right, I am a little bit delayed, but again, I really wanted to talk about this, and you can go absolutely crazy in the comments and say whatever you like, I totally understand. But on the latest episode of Dynamite, Jack Perry appeared after not being in the company for around about 8 months. He went to the ring. He said he wanted to talk to Tony Khan and said, Tony Khan, please come out here so we can make amends. Tony Khan did come out. He was over the moon about this. He wanted to be friends with Jack Perry. And as soon as they did embrace, Jack Perry did this big grin to the camera. That's when you knew where bad things are coming, because a smile is always something that means bad news. When he punched Tony Khan right in the stomach. Now, even then, I thought, you know what? Even if we leave it there, we have something that we can discuss. And I know everyone's going, oh, Tony Khan sold this ridiculously. Well, one, selling in wrestling is really hard. We've just forgotten about this and everybody thinks it's super duper easy. Two, it's pro wrestling. Anything that makes me laugh is okay by me. And you could tell he went down as he'd been knocked out. He was like, oh, wait, I got punched in the stomach, and he started selling his tum-tum instead. Honestly, I just want to be entertained. I don't care how I get entertained, especially with an angle like this, which is meant to be over the top. Because then the rest of the elite came out there, the Young Bucks and Okada. They basically acted like, Jack Perry, what have you done? We've just brought you back, and you've screwed it up. When it looked like the Matthew and Nicholas were going to give him the EVP trigger, when Okada went, nah, I don't think you should do that. And he must have whispered something into the air. They went to the top rope, and they gave him the Meltzer driver, which the last few months has been called the TK driver or the Tony Khan driver, and they essentially murdered Tony Khan on television when even Tony Khan's dad came out. Now, if you don't know about Shad Khan, he's like a billionaire. He has more money than anybody in wrestling. I don't care who you're thinking of right now. He definitely has more, given that I am from the United Kingdom. He tried to buy Wembley Stadium at one point before whatever happened that they weren't able to make a deal. But I'm not sure he's got Eddie Kingston syndrome. I'm not sure he knows wrestling was fake. He did a great job in being like, my son has been totally murdered. And I totally understand. The people are divided over this. Some people are saying it's silly, and some people are saying, oh, AEW's gone to sports entertainment, which I hate. Because even though AEW should be an alternative, that's really important, you have to be able to borrow from other people's playbooks here and there, because they stole it from everyone else to begin with, because wrestling is cyclical. That's all we do, is rehash old ideas here and there. I mean, I've just kind of summed up what I think about it, and I did this tweet as well, which did quite well, which is nice, because again, people do want to have a chat about this. Anything that just makes me laugh in a positive way is totally fine by me. And if it isn't for you, I want to make it very clear before you do go crazy, that's perfectly fine. It truly is. You can only decide what segments you like and what you don't like. But don't forget, because we have 52 weeks worth of programming every single year, you're not going to have to expect that every single thing is going to be for you, because that would be crazy. We're going to talk about the Chris Jericho thing later as well, in case you are interested. And that's lost on me. I could be totally wrong, but it's just not for my tastes. And once again, I think that's totally fine. But I never want wrestling to not do things like this, because I was howling. Like, it's not the same, because I actually think what we're about to talk about wasn't as good. But it's like when Shane McMahon just came back in Saudi Arabia and won the best in the world tournament. It made me laugh so much. As stupid as it was as a booking decision, I was like, I can't get mad at it. I think I said that on the ups and downs, check out What Culture Wrestling right now, that we did do, because ultimately it made me feel good. That's why I watch wrestling. I want to forget about my problems, and I do want to be distracted. But actually, I think this was a good bit of business. For starters, I'm desperate to see what happens on next week's TV. Second of all, the Young Bucks went and started tweeting as if they were Tony Khan. They had the same beats and everything, with the same commas or whatever else that he does use, with the same hashtag and the same ads. And now I want to see how Jack Perry fits into this as well. And also then retroactively, I started to go, well, I actually think AEW must have been planning to show that all-in footage from months ago, because there's no way they came up with this in the last few days. I don't believe that. I think they must have had this in the books for a while. And then because I'm a conspiracy theorist, because I enjoy having these silly conversations, I'm like, well, what if CM Punk found out that they were going to air the all-in footage, which is why he booked the Ariel Helwani interview that he did do, and then that actually helped this? I don't know. Again, that doesn't matter. I just enjoy people talking about these things. But I have no problem with Tony Khan being an on-air character for this, because of course he's going to sell this for ages now. I doubt we see him on TV for years. I genuinely do not think he will do anything like this for years. And even if it's like 8 months in wrestling is such a long time. But it also kind of ties into the Young Bucks and the Elite's new gimmick, which is they are controlling the show, and now there's nobody to stop them. Like, you can't have Tony Khan making decisions on next week's show, because that wouldn't make any sense. So if we can kind of use this to expand on that and go in whichever direction we do want to head in. But maybe it does become a story that people are interested in, and AEW can start going in a direction that many people hope that it does. And I think it's good for Jack Perry. Like, everyone wanted to, make a comment on the All In footage, but I do think it's benefited Jack Perry because he feels far more interesting as a character than he has done as ages. And Heel Okada is just an absolute riot, man. This guy's facial expressions. I think he did some kind of Instagram story where he basically went, lol. Tony Khan, I'm just having such a hoot with it. Like, I really, really am. And once again, a lot of you will be saying, yes, Simon, but one, you like everything. It's such a bind to enjoy things. But two, you're a big fan of goofy wrestling. I don't think this is goofy wrestling. I think this is the magic source of pro wrestling. Because in what other world are you able to do this? Of course, you could do it in a movie or you could do it in a TV show. But because wrestling has that live reaction, that live audience, and the fact we can make videos like this, again, I'm only like 24 hours delay, but people always go, oh, why did you take so long to talk about it? And that's because people want to jump on the bandwagon. I would be really upset as a wrestling fan if any company decided not to do this just because a few people get a bit irked by it. I actually think Tony Khan probably looked at the situation he found himself in, and even though a few years ago he did say, I'll never be an on-screen character, and he goes, well, it's going to help the Elite, it's going to help Jack Perry. All I've got to do is take a punch to the stomach and a Meltzer driver or a TK driver, and look, the Young Bucks know what they're doing. They are brilliant workers. Of course, they kept him safe. That was some other discourse I saw, like he's going to be dangerous with their own boss. I mean, what a dumb thing to say. But of course, we're going to have to look back on this in a month's time or 6 weeks' time and say, was it good? Was it bad? How was it played out in hindsight? But all I know, I was sat here watching it in my hotel room, and I was so excited to go and record the ups and downs for Dynamite, which again, you can check out on What Culture Wrestling right now, because I knew that it would be the moment of the week. Everyone was going to go, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So of course, we'll have to wait and see how it does play out, but I thought this was fun, I thought this was exciting, and I think it's AEW actually listening to the crowd, who maybe they even shouldn't listen to from time to time, that are saying we want something different, we want something new, we want something we can sink our teeth into as if we are a vampire, and they decided to basically murder Tony Khan on live television and involve his dad as well, which I think is the icing on the cake. Now, you do have a very good point. If you're like, why the hell did all the baby faces wait so long to try and save him? It's a good point. When Tony Khan does come back, he should fire a lot of these within the story. I am, of course, joking, but maybe I am too easygoing on this stuff, but I like being easygoing on this stuff. I just go with what my gut tells me and what my Tootsie Toes tell me, and I just had such a good time with it, and I was excited to share this experience with other people. A friend of mine texted me and he didn't like it, and we had a fun back and forth about, who sells things worse out of the billionaires' owners. If it went away, I truly would be devastated. So it's definitely a couple of thumbs up from me, and we will absolutely come back to this in a week or 2 weeks or so to see what they are going to do. Because, hopefully AEW, once again, has decided, man, we do need some long-term storytelling, and this will be the planting of some seeds as we do go down the line. So I shall keep my fingers forward, and we'll watch this space. Otherwise, sure, the other thing I did want to talk about was Chris Jericho, because that seems to be another talking point. And I actually think it's quite, I won't say genius, is a little bit strong, but it's quite smart of Chris Jericho. He's clearly listened to the online criticism, and he's trying to bring that into this brand new persona he's doing, I suppose, which is the learning tree. There is no way with his new entrance theme that he thought going, I'm the learning tree, or whatever it was that he said, is a good thing. That is surely done to wind people up. He's way smarter than that. He does come across like Sesame Street, which I've already said once before. But I think my major problem with it is that it's just not connecting with what I want from Chris Jericho right now. And again, Simon, what do you want from Chris Jericho? Maybe I don't have an answer for that. But if it had been anybody else than Big Bill that had come into this situation, maybe I would think differently. But we're always pairing Big Bill up with other people. And I actually think that he's become so good as a pro wrestler, and he's really turned his life around, that he could stand on his own 2 feet, especially because he's massive. But it was Enzo and Cass, and then there's Ricky Starks and Big Bill. And the fact that he offered himself up to Chris Jericho, who then said, I have to think about this. It's not a massive deal. I don't think we can get over it quite quickly. But it's probably going to tie into the Chris Jericho versus Shibata match that they are doing next week on Dynamite, which is a plus. It's always good to advertise things as soon as you can. But Big Bill will probably come out and Chris Jericho go, oh my gosh, you helped me win. You can sit under the learning tree. Now, I'm sure there's supposed to be like an ironic twist to this because Big Bill is so big, he's probably bigger than the damn tree. But I just don't want to see Big Bill as another lackey. I think he has proven his worth time and time again over the years, and I think he can stand on his own 2 feet. I'm just repeating myself now. And I don't know, people keep saying, Chris Jericho should retire, Chris Jericho should go away. I don't think that's the case at all. I think we can always find slots for people of his tenure. I'm not saying that absence wouldn't make the heart grow fonder, and usually Chris Jericho is very good at reading the room and knowing I have to go away for 1 month, 2 months in order to sort of spark that interest. up again. Not something that right now is hitting home with me, but I hope I get proven wrong. Like I really, really, truly do. And maybe it's because we are tying it into this discourse that is going online right now. And I think sometimes you can do too much of that. I understand I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite, but I think maybe we've just seen Chris Jericho in too many groups when it comes to AEW. And he even mentions this, right? Again, he's been very, very self-aware with it, because he mentioned the Jericho vortex, which is a word I'm pretty sure Squared Circle came up with, but he's obviously spun it and said that people that get dragged into this thing come out as bigger stars the other side. And I'm not 100% sure that has worked recently. Like, I don't really know what's going on with Sammy Guevara, and there were other people in the group that, like Daniel Garcia, it definitely worked with Daniel Garcia for a little bit, especially coming out of the Continental Classic, but then he hasn't really featured on Dynamite, which, yes, I totally admit that is a criticism you can throw at AEW. They have these stars that seem ready to cook, and then all of a sudden they don't appear on TV, and they do lose their momentum. So maybe that is a situation where Chris Jericho maybe could take 5 minutes and somebody else could take that space, but he is still Chris Jericho. He's still a living legend. But again, given that it's not something that I'm actually vibing with right now, maybe I'm, without even realizing, I do think he should take some time off. But I also understand why he wouldn't want to. Like, I'm sure I've been overexposed on YouTube here and there, and if I'm enjoying something and I'm getting some worth out of it, it's very difficult to all of a sudden then move yourself out of that, even though it may be for the best. Otherwise, I thought Dynamite was a fun show. I mean, there were some weird elements to it. We absolutely should have advertised that mad gauntlet that Will Ospreay was going to win. I think that was a bit of a faux pas. And I suppose at first I was a bit confused why Swerve Strickland didn't get a bigger segment. AEW is actually planning forward with this. Like, the Collision show that's happening on Saturday night is coming after the NBA, and it's going to be one of the biggest lead-ins they had all year, and it will start with a Swerve Strickland promo. Now, if you are trying to make him your next big star and you are trying to make him a super duper world champion, that is what you should do as a business. So again, I think that's something that we have to address on Monday. I felt bad as well because I gave the John Moxley versus Powerhouse Hobbs match a down, and in retrospect I wouldn't have done that, and I even said it when I did the review. I thought Hobbs was injured. Turns out he did. He totally screwed up his knee, and I never like giving ups and downs when people get injured, because again, who cares about what stupid way I'm going to wiggle my finger when somebody does get hurt. But I mean, it was pretty obvious that something had gone off, because it started pretty good and Powerhouse was running over John Moxley, and then it kind of just faded away. And at first I thought that was the main event. I actually forgot that we were going to do the Jack Perry thing, and 9 times out of 10 it's about how you end the show. So with that mad gauntlet we had, and the Willow Nightingale and Mercedes stuff, which I thought was the best stuff those two have done so far, because we now are headed in a specific direction. I mean, you end with Tony Khan getting beaten up. Some people say, oh, it's the same as McMahon versus Austin. Well, McMahon versus Austin wasn't the first time that a babyface or a heel had turned on the boss either. So I'm not going to get into that argument. I don't see the point of it. You absolutely should be able to take an idea as long as it makes sense, right? If it's 2 + 2 equals potato and you're just doing it because it was successful elsewhere, that's absolutely nuts. If you think you actually have something that has some depth, of course you should do it. I'm going to compare it to Gears of War, as I always do. Active Reload should have been stolen by every single third-person shooter, and some people did and some people didn't. But it was such a good mechanic, and yes, I think this will help the Elite, and you'll just have to get mad at me. I know, as always, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Simon just likes everything. I mean, it's not actually true. I try and put a critical spin on anything that I do watch, but I also definitely approach wrestling with a positive attitude, because again, I've got enough negativity in my life. I don't need to bring it across here as well. But I do implore you to let me know what you think in the comments below. Go crazy as well. It's a crazy angle, so you should be allowed to go crazy. Otherwise, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the bell, ding ding, notification crew, and click the video on the screen. I absolutely will try and get more content. I do apologize, but I'm doing like 12-hour days at the moment. Actually, it's like 15-hour days, so it's very difficult to squeeze these in. Otherwise, it is GorillaMind.com/Simon. If you are watching this at the end of the week, on Friday, they are having their super duper mega sale. So use the code Simon and you can get loads of money off. And I'm still using these fitness supplements out here. I do like them a lot. Patreon.com/Simon316, Simon316 on Instagram and Twitter. Otherwise, I have merchandise at Samson Athletics and Pro Wrestling Tees. I have a TikTok at Simon J. Miller, and I have a cameo at Simon Miller. And I'm tired, so I'm forgetting anything else. Otherwise, I appreciate you for sticking with me. If you are coming to the Last Match musical, we did a proper run through tonight. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be quite fun. Otherwise, take care, my friends. I'll see you soon.